I think the first thing that comes to mind, what I wish we knew, and there's four of us as children, three of my siblings, and my father, having lost our mother at a very early, young age, at the age of 51. I think one of the first things I wish we knew was what her wishes were. We never had that conversation. Been diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Um, yeah, we just never had that conversation. I think we kind of just assumed she would come to a full recovery and life would continue, and that never happened. So we never had a chance to ask her or have that conversation with her about her last wishes. I think also another thing I found very important in that process is planning. Right at some point, you know, I I use I use the term in my professional life that at some point we all have to go home, whether that's retire, hopefully by retirement or whatever that looks like on your own terms. In this part of life or at the end of our life, we all have to depart at some point. And having those candid conversations about what that departure looks like for you and your family, I found such an amazing space for growth and development uh, in that particular moment.
Um, have you mentioned your father? Is he still living?
He is. Dad is still alive. Health is deteriorating, but going through that experience with our mother definitely benefited us having those conversations with our father. Although he was reluctant to have those conversations, we essentially influenced him. I don't want to use the word force. Influenced him to go ahead and have those conversations, and we did. So in his latter years and looking at his departure, we are better equipped and already have plans and things in place to execute when that time comes.
Is what would you like your loved ones to know about your wishes?
I think I would share with anybody that if we think about life in this whole broadest holistic manner, to have those conversations, not just, I would say I would have those with my kids and I have, but have those, all of us have those conversations. Life is not guaranteed, tomorrow is not guaranteed, and planning is very important. What I've done since going through that experience with my mother and father, I have put together my executed plan of what I want my departure to look like. That's been conveyed to my kids, my family, and everybody has a copy of those written executions and what needs or should happen, and also what my transition looked like. I've requested not to have a traditional burial and requested to be cremated. So all of those things are formalized in a written document. And I've sat down and had those conversations with my kids, who I found were very amenable to that conversation. Unlike I think we may have been trying to have that conversation with our mother.
Have you ever thought about how you want to live before you die? So the period of time that maybe your whoever your uh, medical power of attorney is who has to make those decisions. Have you thought about that and conveyed that to your loved ones?
That is a most excellent question. So that's part of my I call it my written execution, but I do have a medical power of attorney. I do have a DNR, do not resuscitate, if we get to that particular point. I do have organ donor as part of my desire to support anyone that I can with donating my organs. But I think even before I got to that state, I think I've shared with my kids and my lived experience at this moment is I'd rather come to that point of expiration at home and not in the facility. So my life now and my desire now is to build a home so that I can age in place. We had a previous home that had stairs and all this other niceties about it, but it just wasn't conducive to aging in place. I think getting closer to retirement and thinking about retirement, I'd like to do a custom build, or if I can find some purchase rehab where I can think about wider hallways, accessible features, roll in or walk in showers, those things that as I age, you can bring the care. Whether I say to my kids, bring the facility to me, as I don't necessarily want to go to the facility. Yeah, if there's one thing I think I would share with anybody, um, that's thinking about this particular process, when should we start? How does that look like? How do we approach family? I would say there's no cookie cutter format. Every family, every individual has approached that in a manner that's best for their situation. But I would recommend we all approach that situation. Even when I think about my kids and being obviously much younger than I am, they too have wills and what they'd like to have as part of their departure plan, and that's all cauterized in writing, and um, we've openly talked about and shared that. So if in the unfortunate event that one of my kids departs before I do, we all know, and I say collectively, we know what that looks like and what to do in that particular instance. So I just say open, candid discussions and planning in advance. Uh, Grief is going to come. There's no way to avoid grief, but I think you can avoid some of the challenges and frustrations that deal with trying to send our loved ones off in the most appropriate manner within their desires by having those conversations and plans in advance.